I was sitting in a board meeting some time ago, and we were trying to decide if we were going to take the next step, if we were going to move on to that next thing we believed the Lord was calling us to. We were even trying to discern, is this what the Lord is calling us to? And as we're sitting there, I noticed that something was happening that I hadn't seen in a board meeting at Place for Grace before. The board members were discussing things back and forth, but it just wasn't the same spirit that we normally have at Place for Grace. It was chaos, if I might just call it chaos. And so I began praying and I asked the Lord, what is going on here? This is not normally how you do things at Place for Grace. And I just really felt like the Lord was speaking to me, and he started telling me that story and of when Joshua was crossing the Jordan with the Israelites. And so I just began to tell my board members what I felt I was hearing from the Lord. And so I told them that story, and I want to encourage you to go and read that story for yourself. But basically, it's the story of when they cross over the Jordan. The Lord says to them, pick 12 men, one from each tribe, send them back into the river, pick up stones, take them out, stack them up, because I want you to remember my faithfulness. The Lord wanted us to remember his faithfulness. He even goes so far to say is when your children ask about those stones, you tell them it's because of my faithfulness. And so then in that board meeting, what was so cool was board members started recounting the stones of faith here at Place for Grace. You know, those stones of what he had already planted, what he'd already placed in the history of Place for Grace, those things that he had already been faithful in. And so those are the things that we look back on. I bet you already have those in your own life. Those things that we look back on and we say, God was faithful there, and he's told us this, so he's going to be faithful here. And so that's what we do at Place for Grace. We look for what God is telling us to do. We take that next step of faith, that step out on that next stone of faith, and then we watch God fulfill his promises. And so I'm inviting you to tag along with us over these next few months, because I'm going to go back in and tell the history of Place for Grace and tell you all those stones of faith that Place for Grace is built upon. Because here at Place for Grace, this is all about the Lord and his faithfulness. And so join us as we journey through the history of Place for Grace and what are our stones of faith.